As we've been talking about change and opportunities, I think there's something that we've thought about. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I know I have in regards to change, and it's that change is hard. New opportunities are difficult. They can be challenging. And the reason sometimes we don't take these opportunities and the change, we revert back to our old ways, is it's hard. It's difficult. It's easier to do the same old, and not do something different, not step out on a limb and do something that we should do. In our text today in 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 58, it says, "Therefore, my beloved brethren, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your toil is not in vain in the Lord." It's an encouragement that things aren't going to be easy. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be difficulties. But you, brethren, be steadfast, be immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your toil will not be in vain. As I think about this passage and think about why we quit sometimes, why we don't continue and progress towards the goal, is because it becomes too challenging. And as I think about that, we just wrapped up our football season here in Mount Vernon, and last year the boys went 1-10. Our varsity team went 1-10. Only had one senior on the team, a young team. Jarrett started every game on defense as a freshman, and so this year, as we started the season, there were some kids that played last year that wasn't playing this year. Last year was tough. It was a tough season. It was challenging. It was a tough off season. And as we concluded this season, our final record was 8-4, and we made it to the district championship, which, if you're not familiar with Missouri football, that's the third round, if you want to call it that, of the playoffs, and lost by 4 points, a game that we should have won. But those guys came back. They worked hard in the off season. They had a goal in mind to be better. They were determined, and they were going to do that. They seized the opportunity to do better. They were steadfast, and they were immovable, and they were abounding in what they were doing. And folks, that's the kind of attitude that we have to have in the church. That's the kind of attitude that we as Christians have to have in our life. If we decide that we're going to do a better job at reading our Bibles every day, we need to be steadfast and immovable and abounding. If we need to decide we're going to be better in our attendance, the Bible class and worship, we need to be steadfast, immovable, and abounding. If we decide we're going to be better in our visitation and our reaching out, we need to be steadfast, immovable, and abounding. Folks, the opportunities are there. The opportunities exist. But how many people do we know just before they're about to achieve and get to that opportunity, that really big opportunity, do they quit? Several years ago when I was preaching in Fort Cobb, I decided that my family and I were going to move. And I can remember standing out in the parking lot around the bed of a pickup with one of our elders at the time, Tim Smith. And he looked at me and he goes, "Why would you want to move now? Look at the good that we've accomplished in the nearly 3 years that you've been here. We've really begun to lay a foundation. Don't you want to stay here and see that through?" I was young. Other opportunities seemed exciting. I took it. But I understand now, I'm 45 years old, I understand what he was saying. There was lots of opportunity there, and we had laid a lot of groundwork to seize that opportunity. But I really wasn't steadfast, immovable, and abounding in the work there as I should have been. So I didn't get to take those opportunities because I went to another work. And folks, how many times in life are we on the cusp of something fantastic, but we give up or we quit? We're not steadfast, immovable, and abounding. My prayer for you is that in your walk with God that you will be steadfast, immovable, and abounding. My prayer for you is that in the work in your local congregation that you will be steadfast, immovable, abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your toil is not in vain in the Lord. I thank you for joining me today, and I pray that you'll glorify God in all that you do. Have a great day.